Namaste, dear ones. How are you? Welcome back. Welcome back for me. It's been a little bit of a hiatus, and that's all good. Checking back in here. It's the first day of November. We are in the energy of this amazing full moon, and I'm really feeling this intense grounding energy. And I just wanted to tune in and tap in and bring some things to the table that I have been working with and considering in and around my offerings and in and around the practice that we call Bhakti Yoga. So I kind of just want to touch on some things in this talk, in this Dharma talk, in this walk talk of life, right? That we're all here and we're kind of trying to figure out our paths or our personal Dharma, and when we're doing that, it's really, quite common to gravitate towards different things that pull us in, and this is a part of like what we call the journey of the spiritual seeker. And I myself am 100%, have been on that kind of path since I was a pretty small being. Always felt it, always looking, always, trying to find the deeper meaning behind the act or the ceremony or why we do this or what does this mean? Why do those people do that and we don't do that? Things like this, right? So putting that into some context into where I'm at now personally, being, a person that guides and offers and teaches Bhakti Yoga, kirtan, chanting, learning mantras as tools for medicine, right? All of these ideas come back to something that's pretty important that I feel like we've all been missing a lot right now, and that is a sense of community, right? So why am I here putting up these offerings on a kirtan club and in a sense offering Bhakti Yoga immersions as kind of like an academy or a training, if you will, because we are in a social environment right now where we have been stripped of our ability. And I don't want to say this in terms of like some kind of victimization of who we are as a tribe or as a collective, because we need to remember that in circumstances that are somewhat being dictated or controlled, that we still have to maintain our center. And that is a very important reason why I teach and why I share, right? And I'll get to that. So the idea of kirtan, right? My understanding, my definition of what kirtan means is doing things together in community. Now, mind you, taking that context of that word and bringing it into our Western society and our modern world, that has given it a little bit more of a defining nature, right? That kirtan, in a sense, is this call and response practice where there's a kirtan wala, i.e. me, singing a chant, offering a chant, and there's a group or a room of people, right, that are calling that back to me. And in this call and response practice or activity of bringing in the holy names and chanting, sacred and holy mantras, we are practicing kirtan. So that's become more of like a Western definition of what it is that we're doing together. This isn't necessarily done in a temple. This isn't necessarily done even for religious purposes. This is oftentimes done within spiritual communities or groups that are based around yoga, right? Yoga studios or yoga practice or things like this, because of the philosophy behind it, because this is kind of where these prayer chants and these things originated, were from the Far East, okay? So we get that. However, now we're in a situation where we're being asked or told not to gather, not to do things together, not to perform the act of kirtan, right? In my definition of what that means, doing things together in community. So I've taken a little time back to look at that and to feel into that and to say, well, that doesn't necessarily go along with my values of what this practice is. Now, Bhakti Yoga, in a sense, is a deeper practice, which kind of brings you into a more devotional side of your journey, right? Well, what is Bhakti Yoga? What is this devotion of the heart? What is this ocean of love? What is this polishing the mirror of the heart space, right? What is this guru-student relationship? How are we surrendering to the divine energies? This is a deeper kind of place to go, which a lot of people are like, ooh, woo, woo, that's definitely culty, that's definitely religion, she's definitely, preaching Hinduism and things like this. However, these practices can be utilized in our everyday existence, in our home lives, with our families, with our children, in our communities. It's a sense of deep devotion for sharing who we are at our core level, at our divine level, right? Not pretending to be something we're not trying to fit into some group or club who, do this particular practice. So if I learn this practice, then I'm going to be, good enough or holy enough or spiritual enough or advanced enough that, I can kind of like maintain my social status, if you will, by learning these things. That's not why I teach. That's not why I share from a place of authenticity the things that I share with other people. My purpose is not to offer you or give you some sense of prestige or acknowledgement based on, your advancing in your mantra practice or your, Bhakti Yoga practice or understanding of how to dedicate yourself to a life of being of service, right? That's not the key for me. The key for me is you finding your authenticity and being able to serve the world with the presence of who that person is, of who that soul is, right? So when we really think about mantras and chanting and, even asana practice, really what is happening when we're doing those things? It's like we're focusing our power, we're focusing our intention, right? And point blank, we're focusing on something. Yeah, and when we focus on those things, and when we do that practice with devotion, out of a sense of service, not just for ourselves, but for others, for the ripple of energy that we create, it changes us. It changes our environment. right? Amachi says that the power of group chanting can change anything. Now, is she preaching religion by saying that? Or is she saying simply that the power of a group of people focusing their power, their intention, and the energy of a particular prayer or mantra, that's what she's speaking to. She's speaking to the science of this practice, the science of yoga, right? That we have the power to change our environments. We have the power to change the world. We have the power to change our lives, our, physical bodies, our emotional bodies. All of these things. We hold this power if we choose to engage with it. And there's a freedom in that. And so something I want to say is that, a lot of people will say, I want to be free. I want a life of freedom. I don't want to be, stuck in a cage. I don't want to be, this, that, or the other thing. And I was one of those people, and I was very frustrated in my youth and, growing up in New York City, and always feeling like I had to hustle so hard, and I really wasn't getting out on top of this, societal pressure to perform and, take care of myself and all of these things, and how am I going to get out, and how am I going to get above, and up and up and up and up. It's always this up ladder, right? Well, I met a person on the street selling books, right? And I said to him, he said to me, why are you so frustrated? Right? And he said to me, why are you so frustrated? What's your problem? Basically. And I said, well, I don't want to be here. I just want to be free. I want to live my life. I want to do whatever I want to do, blah, 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 blah. And he said, all right, girl. Well, you know how to be free? Do you know what it takes to be free? And I had no answer for that. Nothing at the age of 24, And he just looked at me and he said, you want freedom? You need to be responsible for yourself. You need to take responsibility. And then you will gain your freedom. And that, took me a long time to digest those simple words, right? And it also kind of pissed me off at the time, because I'm like, that's not the answer I want. I want to just be given my freedom, right? I just want to be given it, and we as a society, as a culture, we have a lot of expectation around being given what we need, or being given the right answers, or being given the right medications, or being given this, that, or the other thing, right? And just enough to survive kind of mentality. Whereas we are giving our power away rather than taking responsibility for showing up, doing the work, doing the practices, right? Taking into consideration what these practices are teaching us, what values they're instilling in us, right? And we don't have the ability right now to come together in community in most of the world, okay? We're being separated, we're being not even diversified, that's not the right word, divided. We're being divided, right? And, something that comes up for me in a big way is, not being able to gather in kirtan groups, not being able to come together in community, not being told that hugs are good for our health, right? The average human needs 13 hugs a day in order to be hormonally in balance, okay? And that's a very powerful number. And it's a very powerful fact that we're being diminished of our vitality and our health and our life force by being in a constant state of separation and fear. Okay, so now I am not speaking to the overall collective rules and regulations based around how we should be interacting with one another or whatever during this pandemic phase of mask wearing and social distancing, etc. But I am speaking to the fact that we are no longer living with the privilege that we did have, which was being able to come together and harmonize and share our energies and our pheromones and our, presence with one another. We're through these devices at this moment, and we're through these streams of consciousness at this moment. We're not always in real time. Sometimes we're pre-recorded, sometimes we're live and together. However, that's even different than it was before. So I have taken a little bit of a step back. I have really taken this time during this Mercury retrograde phase, which was not even complete yet at the time of making this video. I have taken into account this energy of this full moon, of my moon cycle, of my power, right? And just tapping into my channels and my guidance and my source energy, which is telling me that the more we can find ways to come together, whether that be through one-on-one sessions, right? Whether that be through group chanting in classes, which are obviously virtual at this time, whether that be in doing practices at the same time together, even in our state of separation. Okay, this is also a very powerful technique for connecting our fields of energy and holding a power grid, right, that we choose to create together as a community. What else? Whether that be in taking on practice that is above and beyond our limited mind. Okay, so a lot of you who have worked with me or who have been engaged with me know that I chant the Hanuman Chalisa as part of my personal practice. Now, that's been on the drawing board here of offerings for some time now. I've had some students ask about learning it, about, getting a little bit further involved with it, and I am considering putting it out as a class, which would probably be a 10 to 12 week commitment at least, in order to break it down into, bite-sized portions that we can go through together. And I am willing to do that, but again, not for the purpose of feeding the ego of anyone who says, I want to do this because this person, and this person do that, and I want to be good enough to fit into that box or into that, level of spiritual practice or something like this. That would not be the purpose of learning that mantra, okay? That would not be my way of sharing that. It would be for the reason of helping you to define yourself, of helping you to learn a little bit more about what it takes to have a very strong commitment to a particular practice, to show up every day, right? to really dive into the depths of again, something that seems unattainable, right? Because a lot of people will say, well, I'm, a Westerner, I don't speak Hindi, I don't read Devanagari, I don't even know what these words mean. How would this ever, become something that I can, quote unquote, memorize and practice without reading it, right? And that's the thing. Through time and dedication and through devotion, that's how you learn. That's how you develop a practice around something that you think is greater than you, right? And that's why I tell you, be very mindful about putting people on pedestals who you think are greater than you because they have this practice and you don't have this practice, right? It's really more about what you choose to focus on and what you choose to dedicate yourself to. So do I tell you here in this video that in 10 to 12 weeks you're going to know the Hanuman Chalisa and have it memorized? Absolutely not. If you did, by the grace of God, goddess, guru, source, whatever you want to call it, if that was downloaded to you, then that is your personal experience. It's usually not the case with most people, okay? And so what you gain by saying yes to a practice like this, by saying yes to a commitment of that nature, is the experience of showing up for yourself every day, of showing up in so many different ways, and having the lead of someone who says this is, attainable through dedication, right? So that's on the block, right? And again, I think that for me, as a intuitive musician, right? I am not a professionally trained musician. I have never claimed to be. A lot of the instrumentation that I do is purely channeled. It's just natural. It just has come through naturally for me through practice and through time, right? But not so much through training, not so much through professional training of the mind. It's more just in and of the self and in and of the soul and in and of the body, and all of those things becoming one by stepping out of the way and not being so what's the word? Self-conscious, right? So why do I want to treat you, that's interesting the way that came out. Why do I want to treat you to a chant practice with me? Why do I want to serve you on this path of Bhakti Yoga? Bhakti Yoga to me is a service to you. It's not a sales point. You understand? It's a way to understand what it is that we're doing together. I'm opening up space, holding space, sharing space with you, that you may open up to who you are and to who you're becoming and to who you need to be for the greater good of the collective and the community, right? Because really, the great divide that has been discussed and has been spoken about in indigenous tribal culture for centuries before people showed up on this continent, right, is that we're being subdivided. Humans are being subdivided. So if you really, really look at what is going on in our societies and how we're kind of being pulled and separated and distorted at the seams, then you can recognize that this is happening, and it's happening now. So we need more up-leveling of our souls, of our spirits, of our power, of our yoga, which is our union. This is what yoga means. It's union. This is not religion. So I don't want people to get stuck there. Okay? I have also put out that I'm going to start, incorporating some beginner level yoga with people. I would love to be doing that in community, and if that becomes available, then beautiful. And until then, if you're ready to start a practice and you're of a beginner, stance when it comes to, developing some consistent yoga practices in your life, then that will be something else I'm offering other than just the chant, side of my yoga practice, right? Because I am also a certified yoga instructor as well. But I haven't taken that next leap as much and put that out into the world. But I do see the need for it because a lot of people are isolated, a lot of people are out of practice, and a lot of people are getting, kind of stuck in a mode that says, I don't have the power to improve my health, to protect myself, to be strong, vibrant, empowered, capable, community-centered. We are tribal by nature. Humans are tribal by nature. We are very much like wolves or dogs, right? We have a pack mentality. So without our pack, we can become less healthy, for one, right? We definitely can become more diminished emotionally, and spiritually, we're not practicing together, right? So all of these really amazing things that we had access to prior to the beginning of this year that have been stripped back and pulled away and are starting in some parts of the country to build back up, but slowly, yoga studios and maybe small groups are coming back together. Maybe they're wearing masks, maybe they're not, these types of things. We have lost something of major importance. We have lost kirtan. Okay? And I say that very literally in the context of the definition that I gave you at the beginning of this talk, which is doing things together in community. Now, I, for one, stand very strongly and firmly in that being a birthright that we all share as human beings. Our gift and our need to be able to collectively come together and share in union our practices, and those can be numerous, and those can be as diverse as the color spectrum of rainbows that you can imagine. I don't know, Crayola has a beautiful colors stream, whatever. I divert, but you understand the point. And the point is that it doesn't really matter so much what you practice, but when you give your power, your focus, and your intention into something, then it makes change. It creates change. So I am here to help others transform. I carry a lot of butterfly medicine, right? And I don't offer chant, mantra medicine, kirtan in a way to try to indoctrinate anyone into some kind of club or religion or philosophy that is a closed and fixed mindset. Because that is not what I want for you at all, nor myself, right? I want the ability to pick and choose and feel my way through this life and have experiences and opportunities, and to be able to just know that with the power of my prayers, that channel through me, of my affirmations that come from my heart and soul, which is part of the name of my Bhakti Yoga Immersion course, right? Which is my soul's gift to you. And we will be doing another one at the beginning of 2021. So look for that. There'll be a winter session coming here, okay? But until then, we're going to move forward with creating as much as we can together as a community. Platforms where we can build and come together in group formats. So be looking for group classes, which will be held on Zoom. Be looking for the Kirtan Club to be moving, okay? Kirtan Club is going to be moved to YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel. Some of you may know about it, some of you may not. If you don't, go find it, okay? Easy Love, go find it. Be looking for some name changes on some of my offerings, right? A little bit more clear definition of what's going on here. And if you're interested in doing one-on-one with me, that is also going to be available. Those sessions are going to be coming up the middle of November, okay? Around November 14th or 15th, we're going to launch into sessions, but this is going to be, again, a commitment. I don't just do one session and send you on your way. If you want to work one-on-one with me, we go deep, we create a container. It is very much a caring counseling kind of program, if you will. And these mantras that we work with, the prayers that we work with, they're for you. They're for you and your soul evolution, right? For your gathering of your forces, if you will. And as we do this work, and as it becomes apparent, you know, through other people you will hear from here in the next couple of weeks, people that I've worked with, you know, people, students of mine that have just taken their practices to a level that have changed their lives. And that's not about me, right? I'm not your guru or anyone's guru. I'm just being my authentic self. And I'm sharing that from such a deep place of heart and soul that is what is mirrored back, right? So these are the freedoms that I hold on to. Freedom that comes from responsibility, from taking responsibility for who you are, and not just poo-pooing that away or going with the flow of the tide if that doesn't feel like that's your flow. If it doesn't feel natural to you to isolate, to stop seeing people, to go into this cave hibernation type of mode, to listen to everything that the newscasters are broadcasting, then feel into that. Trust that. And trust that you have the ability to get through this time, because another time is coming. And when that other time comes, we need you. And we need you to be ready. And those of you that are ready and that are doing the work, namaste, thank you, thank you, thank you. And those of you that are reading or hearing this and valuing this content, you know, thank you for showing up. right? And this is the time when we really, really need to gather our sense of community and not forget how important it is, right? And if you are around people that you can embrace, do it every day. If you have to do that with your animals or your dogs or your cats or your chickens, do it every day. Stay human in that sense. Do not get stripped of your sense of community. So let's see how we can build together. I value your comments, your feedback, ways that you feel like you want to connect so that we can continue. Things that I haven't seen to be as productive in terms of community sharing of kirtan is, for instance, like live versions of just me offering chanting that feels more like a performance and less of an interactive group session. So that is a little bit difficult, which is why that kirtan style that we're working with right now, that particular kirtan style is going to be moving to YouTube, is going to be going to that channel so that it can be absorbed and it can be played back and it can be shared, in a room of people if that's what's available at some point. But for me, the purpose of really coming together with souls is more important, whether that be one-on-one or in groups. So we're really going to focus more on that and a little bit less on just, giving that sense of stage kirtan, right? Because I truly just don't feel that it's to the same level of serving you as well as serving myself. So it's a little bit of a different thing, right? So I think I've said a lot and I've shared a lot, and I'll see if there's anything else here that really resonates. But truly, working with me is, if you're the person that's meant to step into these containers that I'm creating, you are a person who wants to dive deep into who you are and isn't afraid to explore that and expand upon that and, find new platforms and new ways to follow your visions and your dreams, right? Because that's what we need. We need the new leaders of the world to start picking themselves up and not just getting washed away by this stream of consciousness, which is just the same, right? What you hear on the news, what you hear, in politics, what you hear broadcast, those things are also mantras. Those things are also tuning you. But you have a choice as to what tune you want to be tuned into. So you get to choose. Make sure you realize that, right? Don't become a product of your environment. Don't expect freedom to be free. You have to work for it. You have to take responsibility for it. And you have to make a choice as to what you are going to put your intention, your power, your practice, and your focus on. I'm honored that you took the time out to listen to this talk, and I pray that it serves you well, and I look forward to working with you. If you want to send me a message, please do. eclovemusic@gmail.com will get you there, or you can send me a direct message on whatever platform you see this on. Namaste for today. Much love, family. Thank you. Jai Gurudev. Jai Ma.